Hi, everyone. This is JJ, the co-founder of Good Pods. If you haven't heard of it yet, Good Pods is like Goodreads or Instagram, but for podcasts. It's new, it's social, it's different, and it's growing really fast. There are more than 2 million podcasts, and we know that it is impossible to figure out what to listen to. On Good Pods, you follow your friends and podcasters to see what they like. That is the number one way to discover new shows and episodes. You can find Good Pods on the web or download the app. Happy listening.
This podcast is hosted by Buzzsprout. Podcasting isn't hard when you have the right partners. The team at Buzzsprout is passionate about helping you succeed. Join over 100,000 podcasters already using Buzzsprout to get their message to the world. If you want an upgrade, Buzzsprout has tons of guides to help you find exactly what you need. We use Buzzsprout and it's a game changer for us. An all-new analytics system helps us track who's listening to our show and where they're listening to it. If you'd like to use Buzzsprout as well, follow the link in our show notes to buzzsprout.com. And while you're there, let them know that Films and Fermentation sent you. Welcome to Films and Fermentation. We are back. This is our first new episode in a couple weeks. Thank you for joining us. We are Films and Fermentation, a movie and alcohol podcast. I'm Leo.
I'm Kevin.
I'm Mike.
We're three friends who like to talk shit about movies while getting shit-faced. This is episode 114. On this episode, we go to space, the final frontier. These are the voyagers of the Starship Films and Fermentation. Their continuing mission: to explore strange new drinks, seek out new movies and television, and boldly go where no podcast has gone before. And this is where I will insert the theme music to Star Trek: The Next Generation. So don't forget to send us an email, filmsandfermentation@gmail.com, or visit linktree.com/filmsandfermentation to find all of our social media and podcast links. Become a part of the Films and Fermentation family. You can do so by joining things like Good Pods, which has recently added a new curated podcast list section. We are on a number of curated lists, including the newest one, created by the Fandalorians, Teachers by Day, Nerds by Night. It is the best podcast for pop culture, fandom, and laughter. It includes our podcast, The Tatooine Sons, Murdered Mama, The Power 5 Pod, and Wrestling World with Austin Boyer. So thank you, Fandalorians, for that. So what should we do first? Should we talk about our own drinks, or what drinks we should have based on our Star Trek characters?
I think we should do our own drinks. Yeah,
okay, so Mike, why don't you start?
I'm a doctor, not a mechanic.
I'm a doctor, not a bartender.
Exactly. Actually, so I'm renamed this from what it actually is. I'm calling it the Romulan Ale.
Because it's blue.
It's blue. It is vodka, blue crocus, lime juice, and ginger beer.
Okay. And that's actually a mermaid mule.
Yeah, a mermaid mule. That's what it's called.
That sounds
So
good.
we'll call it the Romulan. I'm going to call mine the Romulan Ale as well, since mine is also blue. But mine is actually a blue crab margarita. It's tequila, blue curacao, and Sprite.
That sounds good.
Mm-hmm.
And I am drinking what I'm going to call the Orange Wesley Crusher. It's an Orange Crush, which is vodka and Grand Marnier, but I only had triple sec, so I did triple sec. A freshly squeezed orange and some Sprite. And it's tasty, and it's one of three I hope to get to tonight. I'm starting off with the Wesley Orange Crusher, then I'm going to hopefully move on to the Engine Room Tonic, okay, and then I'm going to finish with the Harvey Mudslide. That's those are my three for today. I really put a lot of effort into this. So.
So looking at this website that Kev gave us earlier, what to drink based on your favorite Star Trek character. So if you are a fan of James Tiberius Kirk, your drink should be the Kamikaze. Based typically on Kirk's 60s machismo and like,
and
headstrong
Kobayashi
attitude,
Maru.
and the Kobayashi Maru, and I don't like to lose and all that stuff. The Kamikaze. If your favorite character is Spock, you should drink the Chrysanthemum. The pointy-eared Vulcan would be the perpetual designated driver in your crew, or the one that was always chilling with a low ABV cocktail in hand. So if you're drinking the Kamikaze for Kirk, Spock is the cool, calm, and collected aperitif, the Chrysanthemum, made with hibiscus, medicinal ingredients like Benedictine, sweet vermouth, and absinthe. It sneaks up on you like a Vulcan neck pinch. I was going to do the one for Jean-Luc Picard because Picard is my favorite character. But I don't think I had all the ingredients for the Veau Carré. It is known for his sharp diplomatic abilities and calculating demeanor. Picard deserves a cocktail as regal as his perfectly bald head. The Vieux Carré is one of the most handsomely delicious classic cocktails in the galaxy, made with cognac, rye whiskey, and sweet vermouth. This is the kind of cocktail that's so good it could broker peace among warring alien species. I have cognac and I have whiskey. I don't have sweet vermouth. I have dry vermouth. I didn't know how that would have affected the drink. So,
well, I don't have cognac.
Worf, you should drink the Zombie. If you identify with Worf's warrior code, you need a no bullshit, no holds barred cocktail like the Zombie. With enough rum to kill a horse, it's almost as powerful as Klingon blood wine, a liquor made from fermented blood that's too strong for humans to consume. The Zombie. If your favorite character is Riker, the Absinthe Frappe, which is basically a frozen absinthe drink. Deceptively boozy and charming like Riker.
It's got a great beard, and it puts its leg over the chair before it sits.
we could talk about that later. His idiosyncrasies as a character, because some of them have to do with like actual physical disabilities that he had. If you like the Tribbles, they have a drink for that as well. The Fuzzy Navel.
I have mine.
Mike has his Tribble behind him. I just thought the Fuzzy Navel is kind of like a funny one. If your favorite character is Dr. McCoy, go with good old Depth Charge, which is basically a beer with a shot in it.
I would think he would be more of a whiskey or a moonshine since he's like Kentucky, West Virginia, somewhere around there.
Yeah, or just straight beer. Ro Lauren, who the fuck likes Ro Lauren as their favorite character?
I thought she was attractive and
he was attractive.
Nice
I don't think she was a great
attitude.
character.
Yeah, she didn't last that long.
Yeah, they tried to make her a main character with a couple
She turned me
episodes and
on to
focused on her.
DeJourners.
So, Ro Lauren is the Black Manhattan. In the end, her dark past catches up with her, and she defects to join an intergalactic terrorist organization. To celebrate the character's unparalleled depth, internal darkness, and abrasiveness, have this mischievously delicious variation on the Manhattan. Rob Roy for Scotty. That makes sense.
He needs something. No. He needs something. It's green. Whole episode where he gets drunk.
I don't think I've ever had a Rob Roy. I would like to try a Rob Roy. It looks easy enough.
Rob Roy is essentially a Manhattan made with scotch instead of rye. So it's a scotch cocktail, basically.
Mm-hmm.
Janeway, if she's your thing, it's the Mary Pickford. I lost my place. Here it is. Mary Pickford as a quaffable cocktail named for the Canadian-American silent film star who is equally as strong-headed as this singular captain. For Uhura, the Caipirinha. I think I'm saying that right. It's a cocktail. I'm not sure what's in it. It doesn't say here. Uhura is one of those rare characters who just gets better with age. Though she was originally scripted as a background character with a pretty face, Uhura's fan base grew and grew, and her screen time grew right along with it. Her role shifted from communications officer to a multilingual expert who became a central protagonist in the original series. To honor this exceptional character, mix up this extraordinary Kuhaka cocktail, which takes linguistic gymnastics to pronounce correctly. Obviously, I couldn't say it. Deanna Choi, the chocolate martini. That makes sense. She's always drinking something of chocolate somewhere in the show. And I also thought of, if I couldn't do the Picard drink, doing the Data drink, which is called the Last Word. It's an eerily green drink that matches his eerily green eyes. And then Guinan is an old-fashioned.
Makes sense.
I like Guinan, too. I thought Guinan was a cool recurring character.
Yeah.
No, I don't get the last one.
My favorite recurring character is Q, and his is the Mojito. Simply put, Q is a jerk. He's quite possibly the most annoying villain ever created in a sci-fi series. His sole function as a god, in quotes, is to toy with humanity, to see how much they can tolerate and decide whether or not they are worth saving. To honor such an incredibly taxing character, try mixing up one of the most complicated and annoying cocktails to make, the Mojito. Just ask any bartender how they feel about mixing up a dozen mojitos in a night, and you'll understand the torture that Picard feels every time he has to deal with Q.
I like mojitos. I find them quite refreshing.
But apparently they're a bitch to make.
Yes, they are. But I'm growing my own mint, so I'm looking forward to making my own mojitos.
So anybody listening out there, if you feel like joining us in a drink for this episode, feel free to check out the link for this article that Kev gave us that I'm going to put on our show descriptions later on, or just have one of the drinks that we're having ourselves right now. Cheers.
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 That's not the end of the show. I know that's what I say.
No,
we're still going.
No.
We have to know what happened this month in history. Mike, what happened this month in film history?
This week, or this month in film history. In 2012, The Dark Knight Rises, directed by Christopher Nolan, starring Christian Bale, Anne Hathaway, premiered in New York.
So we were guests on the Back to the Blockbuster podcast the previous night of this recording to talk about the 15th anniversary of The Dark Knight. But this is also the anniversary of The Dark Knight Rises, the third movie in the series. If you'd like to know our feelings on the film and on The Dark Knight itself, check out the Back to the Blockbuster podcast that we guest appeared on to hear us talk about the 15th anniversary. Best part. What's the best part of Dark Knight Rises? Is it Tom Hardy's accent as Bane, or Anne Hathaway in the cat suit?
Anne Hathaway bent over on the bike. I'm telling you, by far the best.
I don't know what you're talking about. I really thought Tom Hardy speaking like this was great.
You live in the darkness. I was born there. I
liked his version of Bane. I just, the voice was.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. I thought it was interesting. This is also a movie that had Marion Cotillard in it too, in a very weak role.
Oh yeah, that must have disappointed you.
It disappointed me. I love Marion Cotillard. Mike, what else happened this week? Actually, since this is a Star Trek episode, we have a lot of Star Trek facts, don't we?
That's what I put in here. Yep, Star Trek facts. July 19th, 1965, shooting begins on Star Trek's second pilot, Where No Man Has Gone Before.
Yeah, the second pilot is the one that brings in Kirk as the captain, correct?
It's Kirk, Spock, Scotty's in it. That's about it from the original crew.
Yeah, because the original pilot was the one that had Pike in it.
Yes, which was played by Jeffrey Hunter. Yep.
Yeah. Now, July 19th is also my wife's birthday, so my wife's birthday is the day that this premiered.
Well, that's when they start shooting, not premiered.
Start shooting. Okay, well, still,
Yeah.
I think you're missing something in this next fact. Let me see if you can figure out what it is.
Okay. July 13th, 1940, English actor. Yes, I do. That got put in there. How the hell did it get taken out?
I believe you're talking about English actor Sir Patrick Stewart.
Sir Patrick
Stewart.
Star Trek's The Next Generation's Captain Picard was born in Muirfield, Yorkshire, England.
Man, it's still going, too.
Mm-mm.
Yeah, no
80
kidding.
some years later. What else happened?
The reason I love Bajorans. July 26, 1957. Nana Visitor, American actress, Deep Space Nine. Born in New York City, New York.
And she, of course, played the Bajoran.
Major Kira. Yep.
Major Kira, yep.
Kira Nerys. But she wasn't the only Bajoran on Deep Space Nine.
Well, no, because the whole thing was around Bajor, so there's a bunch of Bajorans.
Right, there was a lot of them. I mean, that's a lot. Because
You also had Odo.
You had Odo. You had
Cisco.
You had Quark.
Quark, the Ferengi.
Quark wasn't.
Ferengi.
He's a Ferengi. No, I was thinking of.
And then eventually they added Worf for that.
But they start off with Chief O'Brien.
Mhm.
Right.
See,
Lita.
that's where the movies messed up. They didn't bring Chief O'Brien back for the movies.
Is that where they messed up? And your last fact you got for us?
Okay.
The last fact. July 20th, 2005, James Doan, Canadian actor playing Scotty, dies from pulmonary fibrosis at 85.
Making a final appearance as Scotty in The Next Generation in the episode Relics.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. One of the episodes I binge watched recently. Do you have a must-try beer or craft destination for this evening, Mike?
I do. I have a must-try beer. It's called the Nitro Polygamy Porter.
Polygamy.
Polygamy? Okay. Which one? No, I'm not an English teacher.
I just speak the language.
Wasatcha Brewery Company, Salt Lake City, Utah. The Nitro Polygamy.
That's why it's called the Polygamy beer. It's from Utah.
The Nitro Polygamy is a remake of the brewery's classic porter. Now it pours black as ever, but with a fine, silky carpet of off-white foam. There are plenty of toasted hazelnut, chocolate, and coffee notes up front, plus the added benefit of a hefty texture without the CO2 sting. This one goes down much smoother than the original, and while it's a little hefty in the middle, it manages to dry it to the end. You'll never notice that 30 IBU bitterness, but the 6% alcohol by volume will warm the chill from your bones. Sounds like a Kevin beer to me.
Mm.
That's yeah. It's why it's called the Polygamy beer, Utah.
Yep.
No, I just saw this today too for facts. Released 37 years ago today. Aliens.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah.
37 years ago today.
One of those where people question whether or not the sequel was better than the original. I disagree, but it was a very good sequel.
I think it's this is actually Gaius from Back to the Blockbuster posted this. He says, while I prefer Alien, it's a prime example of how to do a sequel right.
Correct.
Exactly.
I totally agree with that.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's how you should look at Star Trek II: The Wrath of Khan. How to do a sequel right.
That one
Well,
far
Star
exceeded
Trek
the motion picture.
How to do the movie wrong.
Yeah.
So usually at this point in the show, I would do our synopsis according to Glip. Unfortunately, I don't have a copy of the last Glip synopsis because we haven't done a new episode in a couple weeks, and the synopsis doesn't last that long.
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't get a chance to copy it before putting together tonight's episode. But that being said, we still want to tell you about Newsly. Newsly is an all-in-one audio super app for iOS and Android that reads the news to you in a natural human voice. Stop scrolling, start listening. Go to newsly.me today and put in the promo code ADFerment to get your first month premium subscription for free. Newsly.me. So next time around, I would definitely have a Glip synopsis for us, but unfortunately, we don't have one this evening. And that means we are going to take a short break. But when we come back, we will be going to our main segment, talking all things Star Trek in all its glory.
Hey, movie lovers, it's Jackson here from the Back to the Blockbuster podcast. If you've ever wanted to hear an amateur cinephile and an industry professional chat about film and television, then look no further, because every week my co-host Gaius and I, we bring you the latest industry news, break down the most recent trailers, try to beat the box office with our weekly predictions, and dive into our favorite movies on their anniversaries. And every second Friday, you can look forward to the Back to the Blockbuster spin-off, Deep Dives with Owen and Gaius, where the duo dissects a movie of their own choice. All this and more wherever you get your podcasts.
Hello, Spooklings.
I'm Jason.
And I'm Kathy.
And we're the hosts of the weekly podcast, All Hallows Eve Podcast.
We are a husband and wife duo with a passion for anything spooky, macabre, and true crime, sprinkled with our own twist of comedy.
We explore topics such as the history of Halloween, the Butcher of Plainfield, Hocus Pocus 2, urban legends, superstitions, and more.
So come join us as we go down the rabbit hole that is All Hallows Eve Podcast.
Listen and follow us at allhallowsevepodcast.com or your favorite podcast provider.
Stay spooky, my friends.
Oh, yes.
Boo, wee, 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 wee. Wah, 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 wah. Boo, wah, wah.
Not the...
Is that the battle with the Gorn?
Yeah, the
I
fight
think that's
scenes.
gonna be. I think it's gonna be a thumbnail for this episode. It's gonna be a big picture of the Gorn, or like the Gorn sitting on Sheldon's couch on Big Bang Theory. So we are back from our short break. Thank you for staying with us. Here's our main segment, Star Trek in all its glory, The Final Frontier.
Space, the final frontier. These are the voyages of the Starship Enterprise. Its 5-year mission, to explore strange new worlds, to seek out new life and new civilizations, to boldly go where no man has gone before.
So as voyagers on the Starship Films and Fermentation, we decided to break it down this way. We're going to talk a little bit about the OG crew.
A little bit?
A little bit about the TNG, the Next Generation. The Expanded Universe, which includes DS9, Voyager, and Enterprise. The Kelvin Timeline, which is mostly the J.J. Abrams reboots, plus a few other shows. And then we're going to end with the ultimate debate. Who is the best captain? Should make it really complicated. Be like, who is the best lieutenant commander?
Who's the best red shirt?
Yeah. Yeah, we could have put
Scotty.
we could have put Sulu in there for captains. Scotty is the best red shirt. He's the only one that lives.
The only one that lives.
That's one of the things I liked in the Next Generation is how they decided to put all the command crew in the red shirts to kind of mix it up a little bit.
So the gold shirt's dying there.
Not really, because Data's a gold shirt and Shorty's Tasha Yar does die. Yeah. So Mike, you are basically the OG series expert.
Pretty much.
You want to give us a little background on the show?
Oh, originally the first pilot came out, and the studio hated it. They wanted to get rid of number one, which was Major Barrett's character. They wanted to get rid of the guy with the ears, Spock.
Well, Major Barrett is, of course, Gene Roddenberry's wife.
Mm-hmm.
And she would play Deanna Troy's mother on Next Generation.
She was also on the original series. She was Nurse Chapel. She was also the voice of the computer.
Yeah, so she's done a lot for the Star Trek universe.
Yes, she is. Actually, her and Yeoman Rand actually make an appearance in every original Star Trek movie.
Wow.
They're in the background somewhere. They just a quick shot, but they're always there.
They're the people that couldn't get beamed up right in the first movie.
Yeah. She was, of course, the first mate, which would be equivalent to like the Spock character and the Riker character in the later series.
That's where the number one actually came from. Was that original
that pilot episode. Yeah, but it just goes to show you, like,
calling her number one.
Yeah, like Roddenberry was trying to be, progressive before progressive was a thing.
Yes,
and the studio was like, you can't have a woman.
Yes, you can't
and Roddenberry's like, that's the whole point of the show.
So they came back
Captain
out.
Pike, right?
Yeah, Captain Pike, played by Jeffrey Hunter. They did use bits of that one in the only two-parter in the original series called The Menagerie.
Mm-hmm.
They came back out with a second, as we said earlier, the second pilot where no man has gone before. Though that was not the original show that was first episode that was aired.
What was
Man
the first?
Trap was.
So like Firefly, they did it out of order.
They did it out of order, yep, because they wanted an alien bad guy for the first episode. And the first episode of for the pilot was more of a they go through a barrier and people with ESP became bad guys, more or less. They became gods.
Okay.
Though there is one thing about that one that's, if you pay attention, screws up everything that comes afterwards. Because as he's fighting his best friend, Kirk was, the guy makes a tombstone. It was Captain G. Kirk. Captain James G. Kirk on the tombstone.
What did the G stand for?
We don't know.
Eugene.
You don't know.
Tiberius.
Captain James Gregory Kirk. Gregory? My middle name's not Gregory.
Garfield. James Garfield Kirk.
Mm-hmm.
So, what are your like favorite episodes from the original series?
Oh,
I can tell you mine.
Yours is probably the one that everybody loves. The best one they ever made was City on the Edge of Forever.
It is an amazing episode.
Mm-hmm.
But some of the ones I like are the more comic ones, like Piece of the Action, where they're going to a planet full of gangsters. It's hilarious.
There's an element to the original series that feels a lot like Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. Where it's like some of the planets are not quite serious. Like there's one where they're all like Greek gods or something.
There's the Greek gods. There's the the one lost my train of thought. The Piece of the Action, a ship had Starfleet ship landed there before the Prime Directive, and they left a book about Chicago mobsters, and they pretty much based their whole society off Chicago mobsters.
Well, Next Generation did a little pick off on that too with the Grand Royale episode.
Yeah. And then,
but yeah, City on the Edge of Forever is it's not my favorite episode, but it's probably their best episode.
It's the classically best episode done ever. Yes,
it's one of the first like shows to really attack the idea of what could happen if you try to change history.
Mm-hmm.
And it's such a like crazy concept to think about. Like this one person's life meant an entire different outcome to World War II.
Mm-hmm.
Which changed everything.
Yeah,
and she had to die.
She had to die in order to keep the Axis powers from winning.
Mm-hmm.
It's just crazy. But what are some of your other favorites?
From Tomorrow Was Yesterday, which was essentially the precursor to Star Trek 4.
Yes. I like Trouble with Tribbles. That's a great episode. Amok Time, I like that one, just because it went in depth with Spock and the Vulcans.
See, like I don't remember episode titles the way you do. So like I can like give you like a description of the episode that I liked, but I don't remember like the show titles.
Give me the description, I can tell you the title.
The one it's all about racism, where the one race is half white, half black, and the other ones are half black, half white.
Let this be our last battlefield.
It is a great episode. The Mirror Universe one is a great episode. Mirror Mirror, that one I know. I'm trying to think of some others. So the first episode, the original one with Pike, was The Cage, right?
It was The Cage, yes.
And you said The Man Trap was the first one they actually premiered.
Yeah, which was a McCoy episode, yes.
Mm-hmm. Where No Man Has Gone Before is the actual pilot episode.
Yes.
Here, so I'm looking at some of the titles now because it's kind of reminding me of things. The Naked Time is the one where Takai shirtless with the sword, right?
Yes. That's one they try to redo in the next gen, and found out the data was fully functional.
Yeah, I saw a thing interview with George Takei recently where he was talking about how they wanted him to use a samurai sword because he's Japanese, and he was like, "No, that's very stereotypical. This is supposed to be the future. Let me use a fencing sword instead."
Because he's because his character's more of a swashbuckler
More
type
swashbuckling character, yeah, and it I think it worked out well. I'm looking for I'm kind of going through these, trying to like remind myself of some of the ones that.
Now, Mike, you had said you like the trouble of tribbles.
Yep.
Right. When and I know I'm jumping around a little bit, going a little ahead, but when DS9 did their episode, which linked in, did that add to your appreciation, or did you enjoy that particular thing from DS9 to see how they meshed it?
I enjoyed see how they meshed it. It didn't make that one any better because just watching Kirk getting pelted with tribbles, is just classic.
I like the Doomsday Machine. I thought that was a really good one.
Now, if you go with the Doomsday Machine, you got to know that also that the Commodore Decker, which was the one that was in charge of the other ship, was the father of the captain in the original motion picture.
Oh, Decker from the one that gets with V'ger?
Yes.
Interesting.
They tried to tie in an episode with that, and they just kind of failed miserably.
So here's some other ones I kind of like. I like Arena, which is of course the one with the Gorn.
Yes.
Space
Balance of Terror, which I think is the first time they introduced the Romulans.
It is the first time they used the Romulans, and the commander for that one was also played Sarek later on.
Yeah, he ends up playing Spock's father later. Tomorrow,
Space Seed is a great one.
Space Seed's a good one. Tomorrow was yesterday. I'm looking for, where is it? The Devil in the Dark, which is the one where they encounter the creature in the mining colony.
I got something for you for that one.
I'm a doctor, not a bricklayer.
I wonder if there's like a website out there that counts how many times he said "I'm a doctor, not something else."
I'm sure there is.
I'm gonna Google that while we. Do you have anything else you want to say about the series? You want to move on to the movies?
Let's talk about Space Seed real quick.
Yeah,
because it does have a major role later on, since it's the first time they bring in Khan. So that's how they
of
get
course, yeah, because that's the Khan introduction. Yeah.
Yes, which also ties into Strange New Worlds, because one of their characters on that series is a descendant from Khan.
Genetic, what are they called?
She's not genetically altered, no, but yes. But she's from that family tree. So they keep bringing that back around every so often.
Well, they brought it back in Enterprise. They touched on it. I don't recall whether or not they touched on it with
they did not in DS9.
Next Generation or Voyager or DS9.
They did in DS9 because Bashir is actually genetically altered. The Doctor.
Yeah.
Here, I found it, Mike, on StarTrek.com. It is.
There you go.
It is Dr. McCoy's legendary lines from the Empath. I'm a doctor, not a coal miner. From the Deadly Years. I'm not a magician, Spock, just an old country doctor.
That's a good episode, Deadly Years.
From Star Trek Beyond. I'm a doctor, not a... And then it gets cut off as he gets transported away. From the Doomsday Machine, I'm a doctor, not a mechanic. From the J.J. Abrams Star Trek reboot, I'm a doctor, not a physicist. From Star Trek Into Darkness, I'm a doctor, not a torpedo technician. From The City on the Edge of Forever, I'm a surgeon, not a psychiatrist. From Mirror, Mirror, I'm a doctor, not an engineer.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a doctor, damn it. I don't need a doctor, damn it. I am a doctor. And from Friday's Child, I'm a doctor, not an escalator. And then the one you were just saying, The Devil in the Dark, I'm a doctor, not a bricklayer.
Yep.
I think of all those, my favorite one has to be I don't need a doctor, damn it, I am a doctor.
I think the one thing that the original series did was the interaction between Kirk, Spock, and McCoy. It's not like, it's like three parts of the same person.
Well,
That's how they played it off.
Built a relationship that actually had chemistry between the three of them. Even though the actors weren't always fond of each other in real life, they did play well off each other on screen. And it was a friendship that was believable. It was a friendship that carried throughout the entire series as well as the movies, and made the stakes higher in things like Wrath of Khan when Spock dies. You know, it's like it made like they forced it into J.J. Abrams films.
Yes, they did.
Like I didn't feel like they had the same amount of time together to have the relationship that made it so important.
My belief about Star Trek is it's a better series than a movie series.
I don't know. I do enjoy some of the movies in general.
I enjoy some of the movies, but you have to start off with a series before you become a movie.
I would say that especially with Next Generation, I find the series so much more enjoyable than the movies.
Yes,
except for First Contact, which I think is an amazing film.
It's a very
but I prefer the series mostly over the movies. And then with Star Trek, the original series, I'm more familiar. Well, I'm more familiar with the movies than I am the series because I've seen the movies more often, and I watched the movies more as a kid than I did the original series. So,
but I feel that not counting the first movie, that from 2 on, it made everything more believable with them because of the series. Exactly. It started being more like the series in the movies. And if you didn't have the series, I don't think the movies would have done as well.
That's what I was trying to say. Like it made their relationship more believable.
But I do want to chime in on the JJ universe, okay, which I know is down on our list a little bit because you guys were talking about the connection that the characters had, at least regarding Spock and Bones and Kirk. And I just rewatched Into Darkness, you know. And I think I found like the first JJ, the Star Trek reboot with JJ, that first one was about it. You got a more in-depth look of the emotion of the character than you really got from the original series, movies. He wanted to touch on the emotions from Kirk and Into Darkness. He wanted to touch on the emotions from Spock in the reboot with the loss of the planet Vulcan, with the loss of his mother, with that change. And I know it's a different universe than the original series, but I'm saying like the original series I could appreciate because it dealt with civil rights issues, it dealt with, you know, morality issues, it dealt with religious issues, and you get these aspects of the characters, but you don't have the emotional ties, like the connect. Again, I know we're not a huge fan of the J.J. Abrams universe, but like
I didn't say I'm not a fan of it.
No,
it's just
okay.
It's just not.
It's
you're
not
saying
the
it goes
original.
into. It's not the original, no. But if you're going into the emotional part of it, there's your problem with Spock. He's not
he's half human.
He is, and they do touch on that in the original series, but he's supposed to be trying to be more Vulcan than human,
right?
And they do not show that in J.J. Abrams.
No, well, he struggles. He struggles more with his duality between logic and emotion than he does in the original series.
He shouldn't, because he grew up Vulcan and in the Vulcan way, so he should know how to deal with his emotions.
Right, but even in the movies, even with the voyage home, the computer asks him, "How do you feel?" He doesn't understand the question. His mother has to remind him, "Well, you're half human. You have to, and that happens. Like you see it with that. You see that with the Final Frontier. With the emotion he's supposed to evoke, from his birth. But in the J.J. Abrams universe, it's, he struggles with that. He has his relationship with Uhura. Kirk has his loss of his father in the very beginning, so that's a whole thing with him. And then the looking up to Pike as a father figure, and just the connections between them. So that's all I have to say about that.
I just have to say that in 114 episodes, this is the least amount of talking I've ever done.
I know. I was recording the amount of time.
I'm just sitting here. I'm sitting here like enjoying it. I'm like, wow, I can sit back and listen once in a while, can't I?
Well, I think, and here's the one thing that I understand what you're saying, Kevin, and yeah, he does that. But one of the things that makes the interaction between Bones and Spock so great in the original series is how emotional Bones is and how unemotional Spock is.
And I would say that that's a huge detriment to the J.J. Abrams universe. Bones is not developed at all. I mean, he is really he's a side character. He's got less screen time than Uhura. He's got less screen time than Chekhov, for Christ's sake. He's barely seen.
Which didn't come into like mid second season in the original.
Right. So Bones is like beyond, a third party character. He's no better than a red shirt. I mean, don't get me wrong. Carl Urban played a great McCoy.
He did.
For the limited amount of screen time he got, he did a really good job of embodying the idea of McCoy. I wish he was utilized a little bit better in those movies.
And I also, since we're jumping around, my major problem with the J.J. Abrams is they went to Khan.
Yeah, that that was
too
way
early.
I compare that to the DCEU jumping right into the Justice League.
I see it.
They're not ready by movie 2 to be going up against Khan because there's no gelling of this crew.
I agree. I think that's
it's a good point, and a better thing would have been a good original story.
You're right.
Yeah, that was one of my biggest problems with that film. Like, I thought Star Trek.
But don't get me wrong, Benedict Cumberbatch played a great Khan.
He did, yeah. And I thought, as far as the J.J. Abrams films go, I thought the first one was pretty good. The Into Darkness was pushing it a little bit by introducing Khan so early. And I actually liked Beyond. I thought it was kind of a fun film. It was more like what the original film was.
If you'd switched the order so that it was Star Trek Beyond, Star Trek Beyond, and then Star Trek Into Darkness, might have worked a little bit better.
That probably would have worked better.
Yeah, because then you have more of a relationship between the three main characters.
Yep.
Yeah, I agree with that because I thought that Beyond had the plot that was closest to what the original series was like. That swashbuckling sort of just fun adventure. So let's go back to the original crew here with the films. How would you rank the films?
2, 3, 4 are my top 3.
2, 3, 4, 6, 5, 1.
I would go Wrath of Khan first, so that's number 2. Undiscovered Country, which is number 6. I love that one. I enjoy that one so much. Then I would do The Voyage Home, which is number 4. Then The Search for Spock. And then the original film, and then The Final Frontier would be the last one on my list.
Wow. I'm remembering the meme I saw
Starship.
the other day. Maybe it was even today. It was, why are all these 80s kids obsessed with becoming marine biologist, and the next scene you see is Spock in the tank with the humpback whales doing the mind meld. And I have to admit that probably the whole big save the earth, the whales, save the whales of the 1980s and 1990s. Yes, that was a huge part of why people wanted to become marine biologists so much at that point in life.
Yeah. I thought about it.
I did. I think I went into college with that as my major, my declared major my first year. And then I realized I knew nothing about biology.
Yeah. Well, I realized in high school I sucked at biology, so.
We're looking for your nuclear vessels.
Yes, in Alameda. That's what they said, in Alameda.
Oh, man. So yeah, that was how I would rank them. I mean, Khan is classic.
Khan by far
is the best one. But I really something about, I don't know. I think the Undiscovered Country may have been the first film with the original crew that I saw in the theater, which is why
Ben had a huge thing for Kim Cattrall ever since Mannequin.
Yeah, Kim Cattrall is the Vulcan. I can
remember.
I know, because you're 67 years old, so you've seen the original films.
No, I did not see the original in theater, but I distinctly remember watching The Wrath of Khan in the theater, and when it ended, my dad turning to me, go, "Well, the next movie is going to be The Search for Spock."
And the man was a prophet.
Well, they kind of like telegraphed that out there at the end of.
Well, I think they kind of like, after they killed him off, they were like, we might need to bring him back.
That's got to be one of the best death scenes in a movie.
It is arguably one of the best scenes in film, and diminished a little bit by the fact that they bring him back in the third movie. But it's still such an amazing scene.
And Kirk's eulogy, the most human.
Forcing that tear out.
So, gentlemen, we just ranked the movies. Let's rank the Vulcans, excluding Leonard Nimoy, when we have to look at Kirstie Alley as Savik in the second movie.
The third movie was a different actress playing the same character.
Yes, the third movie was Robin Curtis playing Savik, and I think she did a much. And then you have Kim Cattrall in the sixth movie, who embodied the Vulcan best.
T'Pol.
If you're talking about just those, if you're talking about just those original films, I think Robin Curtis in the third film was the best one.
She was very deadpan.
I did think Kim Cattrall did an okay job. I mean, ultimately, her character betrays them at the end anyway, so it really doesn't matter much.
Well, that's because she was Romulan.
Yeah, but like. Kirstie Alley wasn't bad either, but I think Robin Curtis was the best one.
I didn't like Kirstie Alley.
If we just talk about the original films. So how about we move on to Next Generation now?
Yes.
We're an hour into it here. I have been binging the original series, or the TNG series, a lot over the last week because I love it so much. I've been trying to watch episodes that I haven't watched a lot before.
How many times did you watch Measure of a Man?
Like, so that's the thing. Like, I've seen Measure of a Man a million times, so I did not watch that one. I've seen.
So you watched the first season a lot, then?
Yeah, I watched a couple episodes from the first season. I watched a few from the second season. Because the Pulaski episodes weren't always my favorite, except for Measure of a Man.
You watched a lot of Wesley episodes too, didn't you?
Yeah, a lot of Wesley episodes.
Shut up, Wesley.
So, like, I watched today. I watched Parallels, which is from the seventh season, and that's one where Worf comes back from a Bat'leth tournament, and everything keeps changing on him. And he finds out that he's phasing between parallel universes, and that's got a great scene in where they're getting hailed by all the Enterprises that show up, and Lieutenant Wesley Crusher It says, Captain, we're being hailed by 285,000 enterprises right now. I rewatched the one where Data has a nightmare.
Oh, with the ringing that comes from
with
his
the ring.
chest.
Yeah.
He's got it cut into a cake of something.
Of Troy.
Right.
Troy.
Yes, I've been trying to watch like episodes that I don't spend a lot of time on. So like I've seen Measure of a Man a million times. I've seen The Royale a million times. I've seen Rascals a million times where the captain is turned into a kid.
That's a Royale episode.
That's a weird episode, but I like that one. I've watched There Are Four Lights like a million times. The Borg episodes I've watched plenty of times, so I've been trying to
yes.
The only one I watched,
the last episodes.
the only one I watched that I've watched a million times before that I rewatched during this little binge session is Darmok. And that's only because Darmok is an amazing episode, and because I'm wearing this T-shirt tonight. It is a picture of Picard playing an electric guitar, and underneath it, it says Darmok and Jalad at Tanagra, September 1991.
When the walls fell.
When the walls
fell. I need to remember which episode it was that the Starfleet is taken over by an alien species, and
that's the first season.
The first season? I'm looking through and I can't. Oh, yeah, maybe Conspiracy.
Yeah, Conspiracy.
Yeah, that's the first season. Yeah.
Okay,
with the little like lizard-like tentacle
the little thing that kind of went into their mouth, and then that was
season.
the one that that gore that had some serious gorage going on there with somebody's head being blown off and everything else.
Yeah.
Now I'm going to jump into Picard. I'm sorry, I have to jump into Picard because Picard overused the Borg throughout the 3 seasons it had. The Borg were like everywhere. It's like, come on, fucking drop the Borg. Great, antagonist, but you have other species. This could have been the calling back to this particular episode, because it ended with them sending a signal out.
Yeah, they never came back to it.
They never came back to it.
That was the problem with the first 3 seasons.
Yeah,
there were a lot of open plot lines in that first season.
Mm-hmm.
Like Q is one of the few things they kind of went back to from that season.
Yeah,
because he was the first episode at Counter Farpoint was a Q
and he was
episode.
the last episode too.
He was the last episode too, which I liked the last episode. I thought the final episode was a good one.
It was really good. It was really good. Really, really well done. Yes.
I tell you and I always liked episodes that involved like alternate enterprises as well. Lower Decks was a good episode. The one where they have an episode where they focus on like minor characters in the background.
Mm-hmm.
That's in the final season. I liked Yesterday's Enterprise, which is the one where Tasha Yar's still alive and they're at war with the Klingons. That's a good one. And the one where they keep blowing up and reliving the day that they blow up, and then at the end, at the end, they're introduced to Captain Fraser Crane.
Yes.
And Niles was a captain on another ship.
Yes. He was the first officer.
I don't know about you guys, but I was never a real fan of the Barclay character.
I can take him or leave him.
I think they forced him on you, and he just was there a lot.
They used him too much, I thought. I like the episode, the 9th Degree episode is the one where he hooks himself into the holodeck and takes over the ship, and they meet this like alien species.
Yeah,
on the other side of the universe or something. Like that was an okay episode. But then there was every time they had an episode with him, like the one where he's afraid of like some creature that's living in a teleporter.
Yep.
Like that was a weird episode.
But I like that it actually made a crew member have faults,
All the crew members had faults in a way.
All of them had faults, but they were all like brave and I'll handle everything or anything. And it's like, well, wait.
That's how you get through Starfleet Academy.
Yeah, but I don't know.
This is a paramilitary organization. You got me just a coward.
Man, don't get me wrong. I agree with you. This is like, this is what people strive for, but it's like not everybody's going to be on the keel, right from the get-go. And I like that it kind of gave us somebody who wasn't.
So if
But
you
by the
watch,
time he's become a lieutenant, he should be, because you've got cadet, ensign, lieutenant,
we lost the Kev. Your sound just went off.
No, I did that on purpose. You guys didn't need to hear me calling to my dog.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought he was talking to me.
Yeah, I thought you were yelling at Mike or something. I think what Next Generation did well was the first season was a lot of like you said, like open plot points.
Reboot.
But then when you get to the second
A lot of
season,
reboot.
second season they start focusing more on character centric episodes.
Yes.
And that's where like you can kind of pick and choose. Like, oh, this is a Data episode. I'm definitely watching this one.
Yeah.
I like.
Well, that's
Data
the one where Data
episode.
needs to is trying to act human, in which case it's just way over the top.
Anytime the episode focuses on Luxana Troy, I skip it.
Well, she can be funny.
I can't
Some of
take
the episodes
her.
could be funny.
I just
What's
can't.
the one where Data got
I like the
involved
one
with
for-
the one girl? Like she was, toxic relationship, and he's like, I will try this. I will experiment with this. And he's like, honey, I'm home. And
Yeah,
starts acting.
he tried to have a relationship. That was later in the series.
I like the Data Sherlock Holmes episodes.
Yeah, those are always fun.
Especially when you had Moriarty and they came back to Moriarty later.
Yeah, he figures out how
Wasn't
to
he
get off
also
the...
used in Picard?
I've not got that far in Picard yet.
I haven't gotten through all the Picard episodes yet, so
Oh shit.
I'm aware of a few things, but I haven't.
Picard is a slow burn.
Yeah,
it is a real slow burn.
Yeah, I get it, but so good once you get through that burn.
Yeah, that's the thing. I'm trying to get through the first
step. Get through it.
Still trying to get through the first season. I was like, I should have finished.
I have to wait for Adrian to watch it too, because she wants to watch it.
I don't have to. I can watch it on my own, but it's like I should have probably gotten through Picard the last few days, but I've been binging Next Generation a lot. So, all right, so let's talk about the TNG films. I think these are easier to rank than the original crew. Because in my opinion, First Contact is the best out of all of them, and I don't think you can even argue that.
No. I understood Generations.
Yeah, it was.
I understood why they did it.
Pass the torch.
Yeah, that's all that movie was.
Plus, you get Cameron from Ferris Bueller as the captain of the ship.
Yeah,
it's in on Tuesday.
Yeah.
I think you're right. First Contact goes first.
I would put First Contact first.
Nemesis,
second. The last one, the final one. I put that second.
Yeah, I hadn't seen the final one yet.
Insurrection and Generations. I can kind of take or leave.
I liked Insurrection because I thought it went back to some of the comedy that, especially about the how tight our boobs have gotten. And where my boobs gotten, and then Data goes and tries to say that to Worf. And Worf's going back to puberty again.
It's a weird one, I thought. I mean, there wasn't that many films though with the TNG crew though. So
there was.
I think I'm missing one.
I think you are, because I think there was.
So Generations.
First Contact, Insurrection,
and Nemesis.
I think that was it.
Just those four, yeah. Because at that point, you started getting the spin-off series, which is DS9, Voyager, Enterprise. A lot of those were coming out around the time of the TNG films. So I guess we can move on to those then. Yeah. DS9, Voyager, and Enterprise.
I was a huge fan of DS9.
I watched most of the series. I never finished it.
The ending, the last season was weak. Especially since they got a new Dax come in the last season.
Yeah,
I mean, she was cute and all, but she was whatever. Once you bring a new character into the last season, it's like whatever.
I liked. I mean, at first it was weird to have a show that was a Star Trek show that was sort of static, like they weren't going anywhere. They were on a space station.
I think that's when they brought in the Defiant. The Defiant was their way of being able to do missions that didn't
he introduced the wormhole, which gives them somewhere they can travel to. But yeah, it was kind of like weird at first to have a show that was kind of like Star Trek in a location.
And it's probably the only, because it was Star Trek, the only type that had a station that made it more than a few seasons.
Mm-hmm.
Like Babylon 5 didn't do for shit for that long.
Well, that was a knockoff of Star Trek anyway.
Yeah.
So I liked Cisco. I thought he was a cool character.
He was a cool captain. I liked the interaction between them and the planet Bajor.
Mm-hmm.
I like Quark. Come on, couldn't like.
Mm-hmm. Well, he got you a little more invested in like the Cardassians and the Ferengi as alien species.
And if we're talking side characters, you got to respect Garrick too.
Yes,
yeah.
Garrick, yeah. But it's the only time you've ever seen the Federation at war too.
Mm-hmm.
Was in DS9
because this was the Borg, and then that was the beginning was the Borg, and then at the end was the Dominion.
It was Dominion and Kardashians, yep.
And the Jet Hadai or whatever we were called, or something like that.
Changelings.
Yeah. Jem'Hadar, was it? Jem'Hadar.
Yep. But they actually had a wartime uniform.
Truly outrageous.
Gem.
And you got.
Then Voyager.
Do
you have somewhere you want to say about DS9?
I think you got more in depth with some of the Klingon stuff too, because of Worf there.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think they introduced Worf. What was the third season?
After Next Gen went off.
Yeah, to try to bring some of those Next Gen people into the show.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you had the O'Brien.
Mm-hmm.
It was, but you had O'Brien. I mean, it was a hard start, man. People, again, like Leo said, it's tough to get invested in it's not a ship. It doesn't travel. People come there, and that's very interesting to some respect, but there's no exploration, it's you're managing a food court in the corner of space.
Basically, yeah. They got a bar run by a Ferengi. Always trying to get his hands on that gold press latinum.
Yeah, but you had other species coming in that made it more,
No, and trust me, it's interesting, but I think you miss a lot without being able to explore.
And that was the whole point of Star Trek was, on a mission to explore strange new worlds.
Mm-hmm.
But you just got off of almost a 7-year mission.
But it did like find itself eventually. It got better towards the middle of the series. Voyager, on the other hand, was a weird one. Because this one took exploring to the extreme since they got shot off into an area of the galaxy that they couldn't get back from.
They needed to look at new planets, new alien species, new everything, which is why, oh my gosh, we're in the Delta Quadrant.
Mm-hmm. Delta Quadrant, yeah.
Delta Quadrant.
And
like, oh my gosh, we've never been here before.
And they still find a way to bring the Borg in.
Yeah. Borg. I don't know. I think by the time that came out, most Trekkies were trekked out.
Yeah, a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
No pun intended.
You had gone like 10, 12 years of straight Star Trek with DS9 with it. So you're
hurting a little bit. I did watch the entire run of Voyager. I can't tell you what I watched. I watched the entire.
At the end, they destroyed the Borg.
Yeah, they destroyed the Borg at the end, and I could tell you that much. I remember at one point they met a species of alien that was like a giant insect that was like really hard to kill or something that even the Borg were afraid of. But like that's about all I remember from it.
And 7 of 9.
And 7 of 9. Yeah. Enterprise, I found I was a little more invested in Enterprise.
I like the Enterprise. I like a good origin story.
I like a good origin story too. I thought Scott Bakula was a good captain.
Knowing how the Federation starts, knowing or seeing how the ships progressed, it's like, what was the highest warp that they ever achieved in Enterprise? It was like warp 2, warp 3, something like that.
Yeah.
That was the highest that they could do. It wasn't a tractor beam. It was literally a cable. They shot cables with suction cups on the end of them to ships for their tractor beam. They very rarely used the transporter.
They had shields, but their shields were actually metal plating on the outside of the ship.
The one issue I will have with it was going back to the original series, Balance of Terror. They never had when they were at war with the Romulans, they never had visual to visual communication at the point. But in Enterprise, they start off with visual communication. So
yeah,
it's one of those little. You screwed up a little.
I'll tell you what the best part of Enterprise was for me. I thought it was one of the best. Well, it was one of the best Mirror universe episodes that they had was in Enterprise, because it introduced us to this version of T'Pol. I'm trying to find the picture. Hold on.
That reminded me.
I wish that they had continued, because I know that they were refitting the Enterprise NX-01 for the next season. What was it? 3 seasons? 4 seasons?
I think it went 4, 5 seasons, something like that.
They were all set. They were refitting the Enterprise to have it look more like, and again, if you guys watch Picard, you're going to see what the refitted NX-01 looks like based on the concept art from the season that never was.
The season that never was. I'm having a hard time with this. Talk amongst yourselves. You guys still there?
I'm still here. I'm looking at something.
I missed that. Kevin's missing again. He must be chasing the dog, I guess. So I thought Enterprise was a good series. I liked Archer, the character that Scott Bakula played. I liked a lot of the different characters on the ship because they were all everybody was new at this concept of exploring the galaxy, and
right,
everything was a new experience for them. It was a fun show. I thought it managed to not overstay its welcome, which some series have a tendency to do. Here we go. I'm going to share my screen so I can show you the best part of Star Trek Enterprise. There it is. Mirror episode T'Pol. Mirror episode T'Pol is definitely a great part of the show. There she is again. It's the only way you can get away with something like that.
Let me ask you guys a question, because I figure we're wrapping up the shows that were aired on network television.
Mm-hmm.
Who was your favorite character from each series? Who was your least favorite character from each series? The annoying one from each series?
Barclay.
So I would say in the original series, my favorite was always Spock.
How about your least favorite?
I don't really have a least favorite from the original series because I felt like every character kind of played their part.
Chekhov was kind of annoying.
Chekhov was kind of there. I felt like most of the time.
But he was the typical. It was what people thought Russians were like in the 50s,
exactly,
and 60s.
Yeah. Next gen, my favorite character is Picard. Followed closely by Data.
Least favorite?
My least favorite is... It's easy to say Wesley Crusher because I feel like he gets shit on a lot. But there are some half-decent Wesley Crusher episodes. I would say my least favorite had to be Dr. Pulaski.
Yeah. I'd agree with that.
Oh, she was on the original series.
She
too.
was on the original series, but she was not. I didn't like
Dr.
her
Pulaski,
character as a replacement for Gates McFadden.
Yeah.
Let's see.
DS9.
DS9.
Oh, the Doctor. Hated the Doctor.
Oh, Bashir.
Dr. Bashir was so annoying.
I was not a big fan of his. I think Quark was my favorite character.
Quark.
I always got a kick out of
the interaction between Quark and Odo.
Yeah, it was like Abbott and Costello.
Mm-hmm. But yeah,
I can't remember much about Voyager to even go into this with you guys on that.
I'm either going to say the Doctor or Neelix. Probably.
I thought Neelix was the most annoying character.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Who's the most annoying character?
I like the Doctor. The Doctor was the holographic character, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which that all started off of DS9 because the Doctor was there trying to make was going to make the hologram out of Dr. Bashir.
He shows up in First Contact as well.
Mm-hmm.
When the Borg entered the sick bay, they put on the holographic doctor program, and he's like, maybe perhaps I can offer you an analgesic cream. Enterprise, wow.
I think it might have been Malcolm Reed for me, the
security chief guy.
Mm-hmm.
He was a cool character. I wasn't a big fan of Trip.
No, I didn't like him.
I liked Trip. I didn't like the pilot.
Yeah.
You didn't like Travis Mayweather?
Yeah,
I didn't like Mayweather.
He was okay. I thought the linguistics character was a good character, the Asian girl.
Yeah.
I think DePaul is my favorite, mainly just because it's Jolene Blaylock.
Mm-hmm. Here's
amazing.
Something interesting I just read. DePaul originally was going to be DePaul, which was in a mock time, but there was a royalty issue, so they had to change it to DePaul.
Okay.
So it was one of those. It was supposed to link to the original series.
The original series. So let's talk real quickly about the Kelvin timeline. I know we already touched on it a little bit here. The J.J. Abrams reboots, I personally like beyond the best out of the three of them. Because I think it was the most fun, the most like the original series.
Yeah.
The first one, the reboot one, I always get a kick out of that. Comparing it to Star Wars, because J.J. Abrams did Star Wars and Star Trek. And it's like both have an older version of a character appearing. You have an ice planet. You have a weapon capable of destroying planets. You have the main character's parents get killed. You have a Darth Vader-like villain. They don't have lightsabers, but they do have swords that come out of the hilt. In the one scene.
when you have something that works, you just you take it and you just tweak it.
He gets attacked by a monster on the ice planet.
And little known fact, it's the same monster that was in Cloverfield.
Yeah, right. That would mean that
They're
it
all
exists.
connected.
It exists in our universe. I haven't finished watching Picard yet. I really, really want to finish watching it just because I love Picard so much.
It's so good.
The
third season is by far the best. I would rank them third season, first season, second season. Second season was a wash in my mind. But
jeez, I'm having trouble getting past the first season.
That's
the second season was a wash.
I want to get to the third season because it's the finale and they bring back the original crew.
Yeah.
It's like it's just kind of slogging your way through all those other episodes that I'm just not looking forward to.
But you get a good amount of the original crew in the first season too. Data is there.
He's dead. He's dead at this point. Where I'm at, he's dead.
Like Picard's seeing him in dreams and stuff.
Yes, that's it.
I did get to an episode where he sees Riker and
bring
Troy.
Back Q.
Yeah,
I saw Q.
I know. I saw that. And I was like, I got to see Q.
No, not Q. Q.
Oh, Hugh.
Hugh.
Hugh the Borg.
Hugh the Borg. He's dead already from the very beginning.
He's dead already where I'm at. So.
Hugh.
Oh, the one thing, Kevin, since you've seen so much of it, maybe you can tell Adrian this. Why is there an elf in it?
He's a Romulan.
I know he's a Romulan, but why does he look like an elf from Lord of the Rings?
What can I say?
The dude with like the long hair and like
yeah.
I have not watched any of the other series yet. I've seen a few episodes of Lower Decks, the cartoon.
The cartoon.
Which was okay. I
I've
know
watched
they canceled Prodigy. Star Trek Prodigy was the other animated series.
That was okay.
That was canceled. We didn't talk about the Star Trek, the animated series, the original series.
You mean More Trouble with More Troubles?
Yes, More Trouble, More Troubles. And I haven't watched what is it, Discovery or Strange New Worlds yet.
I've watched the first 14 episodes of Discovery.
Mm-hmm.
It's another slow burn. It does have its moments, but
Discovery
right now
takes place in the Kelvin universe.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
This is the thing. I don't need a slow burn out of Star Trek. I like my Star Trek to be like fun.
At some point, it's more you're learning the characters.
Mm-hmm.
So it takes it a bit. That first, and now you get to understand what the characters are like, and then they just put them in the mirror universe. Like fuck.
But Strange New Worlds, I kind of want to check out because it looks like it's fun, like a fun
I've
show.
watched the first 4 or 5 episodes. It's really that is not a slow burn. That is off the go right when you. It's like the original. It's like going back to the original series or season 3 or 4 of Next Gen.
Is that the original universe or is that the Kelvin universe still?
That's Kelvin universe too.
Okay.
Because it's got Captain Pike, Spock, Cadet Uhura, and Lieutenant Samuel Kirk.
Oh.
Okay. I'll have to check it out. I forgot to mention from Enterprise. One of the things I liked in the Enterprise is that the Andorians were a major part of the series.
Yeah,
Jeffrey Combs, man.
Jeffrey Combs was the head of it.
More Star Trek than you could shake a stick at.
Well, here's something else I've noticed. How much MCU actors are in Star Trek?
There is, well, you're talking about like what series in particular, or all of them?
But this the Kelvin series and movies. Okay, you got the guy that plays Pike. The guy that plays Pike is Black Bolt. That's Black Bolt.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, he's black again, bolt again.
Yes, he's the guy that can't talk.
Yeah. Well, you got Uhura is Zoe Saldana, who is also Gamora.
Mm-hmm. You got that. You've got
Liam Hemsworth. Chris Hemsworth plays Kirk's father in the Star Trek reboot.
The guy that played
you got what's his name from Beyond playing was Heingard.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking. The black guy, yeah. Hemdale, yeah.
Hemdale, it's Idris Elba.
Hemdale. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Idris Elba.
That's him.
Mm-hmm.
A couple more.
You got Robert Downey Jr. as a red shirt.
well, number one. Hey, you got
Christopher Lloyd as a Klingon.
You got Dr. McCoy.
He played Executioner.
Mm-hmm.
He played Executioner.
Yeah, Thor. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Can we talk about Christopher Lloyd as a Klingon?
If you've never heard Shakespeare in the original Klingon, you're missing something.
That's Christopher Plummer.
It's Christopher Plummer.
Talk bay.
Sorry, wrong Christopher.
Talk about great death scenes. When his ship gets blown up at the end of that film, and he just looks off the camera and goes, "To be or not to be," and then the ship blows up. I'm like, that's badass.
Yeah. You also had Bob Cratchit as a Klingon.
Bob Cratchit. Which Bob Cratchit?
Bob Cratchit from the George C. Scott. He was the Klingon in The Undiscovered Country. He was the Chancellor.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
The Chancellor. Oh, the one that gets murdered at the beginning.
The one that gets murdered in the beginning, yeah.
And then the president of the Federation of Planets is Kurtwood Smith, best known as the dad from that 70s show.
Red.
or Boddicker from RoboCop.
Mm-hmm.
I like to point out the weirdest cameo I think I've seen in all the Star Trek shows. In Next Generation, there is an episode in season 7 where Worf is visited by his half brother or stepbrother or something like that, played by Paul Sorvino, best known as Paulie in Goodfellas.
Yes.
Plays Worf's stepbrother.
Adopted brother or something.
His adopted brother, Nikolai Rozhenko. I saw that one. I was like, "What is that? Paul Sorvino? I don't remember this episode at all."
Oh yeah.
So let's get to the ultimate debate here and close it out for the evening. Rank your captains. For this one, I'm excluding Pike from the Strange New Worlds. I'm excluding all Kelvin captains except for Chris Pine, since he's playing an original one, Kirk. So our captains then are Kirk by William Shatner, Kirk with Chris Pine as Kirk.
Okay.
Yes.
Hold that thought. Give me 1 second. Okay, talk amongst yourselves.
Will do. There's one thing about I brought this list up to Adrian.
Mm-hmm.
She's like, when you think captains in Star Trek, you think about when you hear William Shatner, you think of Kirk. You think of Patrick Stewart, you think of Picard.
Mm-hmm.
When you think of Chris Pine, what do you think of? Do you actually think of Kirk, or the last movie he was just in?
Princess Diaries 2.
Yes. Not the Bard in Dungeons and Dragons.
I actually I picture him as Kirk right now because it's I think his biggest role to date. But I've been a fan of his for a little while because he's been in some really cool movies in the past too.
I'm back.
You're back.
Princess Diaries 2.
I wanted to make my last drink for the night.
Clue and half and half.
It is my Harvey
Mudslide.
Mudslide.
So we're
Why
saying
do you call it Harvey? Because it's Harry Mudd.
Oh, is it Harry Mudd? Because I thought it was Harvey Mudd.
Hardcore Falca. Hardcore Mudd. Yeah, Harry Mudd.
Harry Mudd. Okay.
The captains we're ranking are Shatner's Kirk, Pine's Kirk, Patrick Stewart's Picard, Avery Brooks as Cisco, Janeway. Kate Mulgrew is the actress, I think, right? Plays Janeway. And Scott Bakula as Captain Jonathan Archer.
Okay.
So who would like to go first?
Picard 1. I'm just a big Picard fan. I can't help it. Shatner's Kirk 2. Archer 3. Cisco 4. Janeway 5. And Pine in last place, only because I don't know if he's played the role enough for it to really, stick out to me.
Okay.
I'm going to guess Mike's is Kirk first.
Shatner first. Picard second.
Mm-hmm.
Cisco third. Archer fourth. Janeway fifth. And Pine final.
Mm.
Same reason for Pine. He's not. I don't think he's played the role long enough.
Mm-hmm. I will go Picard first.
Mm-hmm.
Cisco second.
Ooh.
Shatner third. Kirk third. Janeway fourth. No, not Janeway. Archer fourth. Janeway fifth. Pine sixth.
And then an honorable mention to Alan Rook as the captain that kills Kirk.
On Tuesday.
Kelsey Grammer as Captain Fraser Crane.
I mean, what is all the people that's played Captain Pike?
Yeah, it's 3 actors who played Captain Pike. 4 actors because there was one in the J.J. Abrams reboot. Who else? Any other like guest star?
Sulu?
Captain Sulu. That's a mighty big ship. Not as big as our captain. So
Captain Scott.
Yeah, Captain Scott.
Scott. He was a captain with the Next Gen.
Riker was a captain on and off on occasion.
Technically, so was
Data.
Crusher.
Mm-hmm.
Beverly Crusher was the captain in one episode.
Because everybody disappeared. She was the only one left.
No. When in the last episode where he was going out, she was a captain.
Yeah, because he was Admiral Picard at that point.
Yes.
So, Mike, you have any beer trivia or history for us this evening?
I do. Beer history. Scholars maintain that a beer made from red barley, possibly even malted red barley, called haki, was made in Egypt. It was documented in hieroglyphs as early as the 4th dynasty, the golden age of Egypt between 2613 and 2494 BCE.
So what these facts keep telling me is that beer goes all the way back to the beginning of time.
That's right. It's in the Garden of Eden.
How was your drinks this evening, gentlemen?
Very good.
Very good.
How you feeling, Kev? You had 3 different drinks.
I'm feeling great, man. I'm feeling great.
Some of us got to drive to almost Asbury Park tomorrow, so I might get drunk.
Some of us are off.
Yes, some of us are off.
And then
some of us are going to mow a lawn and then jump in a pool.
I finished my drink, and my second serving had a little more tequila and less everything else.
My Orange Wesley Crusher was quite good. I should make them more often. I forgot that they're a fun drink for me to have in the summer. Gin and tonic is my engine room and tonic. Was very good. It's a standby. It's a go-to. And my Harry Mud Slide was quite delicious. It's a very good dessert drink.
Okay.
That was a recurring character from the recent series I liked. Harry Mud.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Let's finish this up. Thank you for joining us for episode 114, The Final Frontier. We hope you enjoyed listening to this episode as much as we enjoyed recording it for you. Don't forget, you can email us at filmsoffermentation@gmail.com or follow us at linktree.com/filmsoffermentation. See all of our social media and podcast links. We're on Good Pods, Spotify, Apple Pods, you name it, we're there. You can also go to teespring.com to buy our merch or join Patreon to support the show and help Kevin buy new equipment.
Please.
Or more alcohol. Either one's very important.
Don't forget to stop by the crossroads between pickled and fermented next time around as we present episode 115. The next episode, we're going to be looking at some documentary films. Something we haven't talked about before. Should be an interesting episode. Mm-hmm. So thanks again for joining us tonight. I'm Leo.
I'm Kevin.
I'm Mike.
Live long and prosper, everyone. Cheers.
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 Beat me up, Scotty.